This vaccine is our only shot at preventing the disease from circling the planet further and further and further, which means that more strains will develop, which will supersede the vaccines. We literally need to get it under control, and we are sacrificing years and years of our time. It's difficult to take this too seriously because Joe Rogan is an objectively funny person, you know? And not funny in the sense that the jokes he makes are funny, which they sometimes are. I'm not going to deny that. But more funny in the sense that he's like a gorilla man, you know? So like everything that he does just radiates like an inherent energy of comedic stupidity. My dude got COVID.
Hello, friends. So I got back from the road Saturday night, feeling very weary. I had a headache, and I just felt just run down. And just to be cautious, I separated from my family, slept in a different part of the house.
Well, that's a reasonable thing to do.
And throughout the night, I got fevers and sweats, and I knew what was going on. So I got up in the morning, got tested, and turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin.
And there we have it. That's the headline of every single goddamn news site for the past 24 hours. We'll finish the video and then we'll talk about it.
Z-Pack, prednisone, everything. And I also got an NAD drip and a vitamin drip, and I did that 3 days in a row. And so here we are on Wednesday, and I feel great. I really only had one bad day. Sunday sucked, but Monday was better. Tuesday felt better than Monday, and today I feel good. I actually feel pretty fucking good.
Can we have a rip in peace in chat for Joe Rogan's intestinal lining?
That's the good news. The bad news is we have to move the Friday show in Nashville.
And then the rest of it is Joe Rogan stuff. Very nice. All right, Joe Rogan. Well, I lost a lot of respect for Joe Rogan with his handling of the COVID-19 stuff because while he does sometimes oscillate between good and bad positions, he did endorse Bernie Sanders, which was a big W for Bernie's team back during the primaries, back when there was any hope left in the world. Unfortunately, with the COVID-19 stuff, he has defaulted to this brain-dead, near masochistic, like, macho tendency to completely disregard the pandemic. Oh, you know, wearing masks is dumb. Oh, people are taking this too seriously. Oh my God, this person looks so dumb with it. Like, basically, like, it's not manly to take this seriously. When people have said that in private, he takes it, like, really, really, really seriously, you know? Then in private, he was getting all his, like, studio scrubbed down and sanitized and all that stuff all the time, so that there's been a big change, or big difference between how he handles things publicly and in private, you know? It's kind of like how, in public, bros will be like, dude, that's gay, but, like, in private, when they look at the porn, they mostly stare at the dick, and they don't even think about it, you know? It's like how all the fucking conservatives are like, yeah, dude, you know? I haven't gotten vaccinated, but they totally did. They absolutely did. Remember when Tucker Carlson was asked if he got vaccinated, and he was like, I don't think, why are we asking about that? Or was it Marjorie Taylor Greene? She was like, that's a violation of my HIPAA privacy, which no, it's not. But anyway, most of these people have gotten vaccinated. Charlie Kirk said that he hasn't gotten vaccinated. He's crazy enough that I might actually believe him. Whatever. Anyway, why does this matter? First of all, Joe Rogan is a buffoon, and it's just kind of funny to see this happen to a person who contributes to a lot of COVID denialism and resistance. That's one. For two, the ivermectin thing is really funny. So ivermectin is a horse dewormer. It's been used, I think it's had some use for humans at some points, but like in a highly controlled clinical setting and not for COVID. Like a whole other thing, you know? Because like, there are lots of medicines that you should not take that are sometimes acceptable. Mercury is a component in some chemicals we take, but you shouldn't inject mercury directly into your own asshole. This is part of a long-standing effort on the part of conservatives to promote alternative solutions to COVID that don't involve them capitulating to the necessity of vaccines. Right now, the right buys a lot of its political points from its base by remaining anti-vaccination or anti-mandatory vaccination, or at the very least by not angering those groups of people. They don't want to anger those groups of people. Remember when Trump got booed for saying people should get the vaccines? Right. It's a complete culture war talking point. The vaccine is safe as it's going to be. It's been FDA approved. Because they're dying on this hill, they need other solutions. So, of course, we had the hydroxychloroquine, and now we have ivermectin. And as research has shown, ivermectin just has not been indicated to be effective against COVID-19, you know? It is just not a thing that has been shown to work. There are going to be a lot of false positives with this because if people take ivermectin and then their COVID gets better on its own, they're going to think it's because of the ivermectin. That's why research is really, really important. Individual anecdotal experiences are not a very great way of determining the efficacy of potentially dangerous medicine. And it is potentially dangerous. Have you guys seen those screenshots from private Facebook groups talking about ivermectin? The people talking about shitting themselves? One of them was like, there was like that wine mom who was like, I just up and shit myself at the grocery store. Which, I hope you all are doing okay out there. I want to be clear. The only reason that people are promoting ivermectin on the right is because they need an alternative narrative that allows them to seem like they're proposing something for COVID without angering their anti-vax fan base. That's literally it. They don't care if it works or not. It has nothing to do with some kind of scientific advocacy. They don't care about any of that shit. It could have been ivermectin. It could have been magnet therapy. They could have done that. They could have gotten behind that. They could have said that by rubbing magnets directly against your puckered asshole, you could remove the COVID. They might as well have said that. It would have been less harmful than ivermectin on people who don't need it. I don't think rubbing magnets against your asshole necessarily does anything wrong to your body. That might actually be the next thing they advocate for. In fact, I ask they do. Please go with the magnet asshole strategy. It's cheaper, it's safer by not doing anything, and it'll keep people busy. I don't know. People are angry at Joe Rogan because he's promoting the ivermectin thing, which they should be because it's a horrible thing to do. The more you promote alternative medical treatments to problems like this, the more you inherently delegitimize the severity of things like vaccination, which we really need more people getting on board with, if at all possible. You know, the reason I haven't talked about this up until this point is because when the ivermectin stuff started crowding up, I thought it was so stupid that I didn't need to comment on it. I just feel dumb right now. Like, yeah, guys, this medicine that nobody has said works for COVID doesn't work for COVID. You know what I mean? I feel like an idiot. Like, I feel the way that people in NASA must have to when they have to write a little article talking about how they did do the moon landing, you know? Or when the CDC has to release an article going like, yes, actually, COVID-19 is real. I feel like a moron doing it. You know what I mean? But people are taking it seriously. Or yeah, how the earth isn't flat. Exactly. Is this real? Oh my god. What diaper size is best for the first 24 hours? I knew I'd be pooping a lot, but I've already gone through 4 pairs of underwear in the last 2 hours. Pads don't work either. I have to hope this is a troll. Maybe ivermectin is a really great laxative. I don't know. Probably don't use it like that. Does anyone else think it's exceptionally funny that some of the same people who are promoting ivermectin were saying they were distrustful of the vaccine because it wasn't FDA approved? Does anyone else think that's a little bit funny? Like, I don't know if I trust this vaccine. They didn't give a fuck about the FDA approval. The excuses are so dishonest, and they cycle between them whenever it's most convenient. I wish all the people who are shitting themselves a lot of luck, you know, if at all possible. Did you hear about how the ivermectin sub got flooded with horse porn? How could I not? You all tagged me in it. The ivermectin sub on Reddit was full of conspiracy theorists and anti-vaxxers, so people went in there and started posting horse porn, like hentai stuff, you know? And lots of other stuff, too, like people transforming into horses, or horse furry porn, or, you know, just the whole range of it. And of course, you chucklefucks saw that and thought, this has something to do with Vosh. So I got tagged dozens of times in threads both there and Reddit, and on Discord and on Twitter from people saying, essentially it all boiled down to this. Thank you, Comrade Vosh, for taking over the ivermectin subreddit. And you're welcome for whatever I had to do with it. Or since then, they've banned images being posted to the Ivermectin subreddit. So now the fun is over. Not that I was ever doing anything. I was just an onlooker. But it was very funny. Yeah, I don't know where to go with this, man. Stuff like this, like, it's the same with hydroxychloroquine, where if you take a dishonest media and you mix it with honest scientists, you're usually going to get people procuring bad outcomes. You know what I mean? Because if you do a bunch of research on medical stuff, and then you, like, the media essentially tries to clip chimp results that they're looking for midway through that research process, it becomes really, really, really difficult to get the right opinions out there. We saw this as well with the hydroxychloroquine thing. That French study showed that, yeah, not only was it not effective, but it was starting to cause, like, death. So that's not a good solution, you know? But people, yeah, people will just latch on to anything they can do. Is it really that fucking hard to just get vaccinated? I am becoming more authoritarian with every passing fucking day, okay? Every single time something like this comes up, I wait for the mandatory vaccination. I will stop caring if you get arrested for it. Legitimately, I will stop caring. This vaccine is our only shot at preventing the disease from circling the planet further and further and further, which means that more strains will develop, which will supersede the vaccines. We literally need to get it under control, and we are sacrificing years and years and years and years of our time and health and lives to this ongoing fucking carnival ride, this clown fiesta. We're entering the clown car right now, and that's not great for social distancing because you know how people are packed in there. And I don't care. I legitimately am starting not to care about forced vaccinations if it comes to that, okay? If you have some medical excuse not to, then go to your fucking doctor and get a note. But past that, I really do think that if we have two worlds, one of which is a constant ongoing pandemic that eventually breaks through the current vaccine because the strains keep mutating off the backs of the unvaccinated, and a world where the government can put you in jail for not getting a vaccination, I would unironically rather go with the second one. Like 100 times over, I would rather go with the second one. The second one has significantly fewer deaths, that's for sure. And the whole economy and the whole world gets to open back up. We can't keep doing this, okay? Oh my God. Lambda is already vaccine resistant. Yeah, we're getting to that point. We're getting to that point now. We can't keep doing this. We cannot keep doing this. It's not possible. Humanity, the species, humanity, is not capable of weathering this permanent cycle. It's not like the flu. The flu has seasons. You get the flu, and then it tones down. The flu is not transmittable enough that it ends up shutting down entire countries. But this is ironic end of the world from COVID. People think that's a joke. It's not that the world is ending. It's the world is going to become permanently worse. You realize that, right? It's not just about the world ends or the world doesn't end. Do you want to live in a world, literally a humanity from now into time immemorial, where this thing ends up scaling up so hard that it ends up developing a super viral pattern that we can't prevent through vaccines? You realize that's a thing, right? It's already happening right now with superbugs. Yeah, superbugs. Things that we can't really prevent people from getting. Antibacterial resistant bacteria. We're already reaching a point where you guys know how this works, right? This is how disease works, okay? This is how disease works, all right? That doesn't really apply to viruses. Well, it doesn't apply to viruses in the sense that bacteria and viruses don't evolve in the same way. But if you have enough strains of the virus circulating at the same time, in a practical sense, the vaccinations stop being like that functional, you know? You guys know how this works. The more time you give a virus or a bacteria time to develop and test itself, the more likely it is that stronger variants end up becoming the dominant strain. For example, we overuse antibiotics mostly in what we give our cows so that the meat that we procure from them isn't ridden with the plague that they would otherwise have from living in their own shit, and then we eat antibiotic-infected meat. And what that leads to is the remaining bacteria that survive getting more and more resistant to antibiotics until eventually they reach a point where the antibiotics that we use to kill them become so strong that they hurt us too. You understand? Eventually, the bacteria is going to be strong enough that the only medicine we can take to hurt it hurts us. Same as what we do with cancer, basically, right? We kill a bunch of cells and just hope we get the cancer cells with them. Well, Imperial General, it's a broader problem with the medical responsibility that we have. They're not stronger, they just smell different, so the vaccine doesn't apply to the virus. That's what I mean. Stronger is in it gets through the vaccination. Stronger in that it gets through all of those problems. Bosch, how do you want a vaccine mandate to work? We already do it for everything else. We already do it with like a polio vaccine. I don't see why we can't add this to the list. Yeah, FEMA camps, why not? I'm sorry, I'm losing sympathy so rapidly for all this. I have so few fucks left to give for anti-vaccination types. It's so ridiculous. They're unironically going to drag the entire fucking species down into a black pit. Don't worry, man, there's an alternative to antibiotics on the horizon. Yeah, we'll see. People have been talking about human immortality for the past 50 years. We'll see if this actually ends up being developed. Bacteriophages. Nanobots will take care of it. I actually did hear about that being a potential, like, in the future solution, you know? The basic idea of it, as I understood it, it wouldn't necessarily be like nanomachines as it would be like some kind of chip or like bionic implant. God, that sounds so dorky to say. But what I heard might happen, this could be cool. I mean, this sounds cool, right? Okay? So basically what happens is, like in Marvel yeah, hold on. Basically what would happen is that a retinue of injections that humans get when they're young would give us two basic things, okay? It would give us some kind of chip, and it would give us the bacteria that operate as a sort of autonomous immune system, right? And basically the idea would be is that that chip would be connected to some kind of central archive of available existing diseases, and that the moment these diseases emerge, the chip works in tandem with the separate immune system to effectively pre-vaccinate your body, if that makes any sense. Like the vaccine distribution is pre-taken care of, and the concept would be that it's basically like modular, that the vaccination component for the next disease that runs around the world just gets auto updated to whatever immune system you're fitted with. By the way, this isn't happening at all. I don't think this is even being researched. I just heard that this would be like some cool sci-fi solution. I don't know. It'd be neat enough. There are other questions about the potential like effectiveness of like CRISPR gene modification, or if it would be possible to eugenic humanity into having better immune systems. That would probably be one of the things that legitimate genetic research would be like worth engaging in, you know? Obviously, we're nowhere near actually doing that, but like in concept, it seems like a fairly reasonable thing. What you just described as being research is just like 75 years off at the earliest. Oh, humanity doesn't have that long. It's never going to happen. There's always some rich motherfucker with ulterior motives, it seems. Yeah, obviously the problem with eugenics of any kind, even the most benevolent possible eugenic system, would always be that it would benefit the wealthy first, and that would create a two-tiered humanity, you know, which is not great. But maybe we could do something cool. After all, like, if you really think about it, at the end of the day, there's very little limit to what our genes are capable of doing, as long as they're programmed to absorb and distribute the appropriate amount of energy, right? Think of, for example, our strength, right? Human beings are not very strong. Proportional to our size, we're actually rather weak animals. If you put us next to, say, for example, a chimpanzee, pound for pound, chimpanzees can rip human beings apart limb from limb. Seriously, like, chimpanzee muscles are objectively superior to our muscles. So why did they get better muscles than us? Because our calories go to our brain. But we don't forage anymore, do we? No, we have industrialized the planet. So what if you made it so that human beings' default level of caloric consumption wasn't 2,000 calories or so, but was rather like 4,000? We have double the amount of potential caloric energy to dedicate towards cellular processes. You could put that towards your brain, but you could probably also put that towards the development of your immune system or towards cell regrowth. After all, one of the major reasons why we age is because the cellular gene transcription process, the process that makes genes replicate themselves, which we need because cells are dying all the time. You need to make new ones, of course. There's a limited number of divisions you can do because every time those cells divide, there's a little bit of DNA lost in the transcription process, you know? The telomeres, yeah, exactly. Like, you lose a teeny tiny bit of the whole, like, DNA strip. I'm simplifying this massively, but please follow through with me here. I know that there are people in chat more educated than this than me. So that means every time your cells copy themselves, they're an inferior version of the previous iteration. That's why when you're older, your skin gets saggy and non-elastic, and why it takes longer to heal from injuries. Everything in your body gets worse because all of your cells are running on imperfect DNA, like, copies of what you were when you were, you know, like, young, you know? Which is interesting, right? Now, that's not the only reason, but that's a pretty big part of the reason. But didn't Kurzgesagt recently do a video on how it was possible through DNA transcription to introduce processes to cells that improve the DNA transcription process? If you could do that, then you could live much, much, much longer. Say you burn through half as much DNA every time the genes transcribe themselves, that would lead to decades more life in theory, right? Because that means all the processes in your body that only last so long get that much longer to go. You could potentially expand them forever if you could find a way to fix the whole telomere, you know, shortening problem. I know there's more to aging than just that, but that is a big part of it. That's a huge, huge, huge part of it. Biological immortality? Yeah, potentially pretty cool. Why are you humans so obsessed with living longer? What are you, a fucking anime character? You humans? What the fuck do you mean, you humans? We humans. What's wrong with humans living longer? Of course, true immortality is probably never really going to happen because there's always going to be, like, some element to all this that'll break down. Just joking, Vosh? Okay. There's always going to be some element to the human body that breaks down eventually. Like, for example, another one is cancer. Yep, exactly. Cancer is an inevitability. If anything living lives long enough, cancer will happen. Maybe you could find ways to address that as well. Kurzgesagt does a lot of videos like this. Kurzgesagt also did a video on why larger animals don't seem to suffer from cancer, even though they have more cancer in them. Yeah, you have cancer in you right now. Literally, everyone watching this, you have cancer in you. Isn't that weird? We do? Yeah. Yes, you do. Constantly. Literally, all the time. Most of the time, your immune system takes care of it, but eventually it won't. And then you have tumors. Well, you always have the tumors. You have meaningful malignant tumors. Yeah, your immune system wins like 99% of the time. Actually, your immune system wins like 99.99999999999% of the time. Eventually, it doesn't. The thing is, as I understand it, cancer happens when radiation bombards your cells, and the cell is, like, damaged enough that it no longer considers itself a part of your body, really. It just considers itself its own thing, and then it starts to grow rapidly because it's no longer limited by the functions that regulate the development. Not always radiation. Okay, not always radiation, but something causes it to start growing out further and further. And most of the time, your immune system's like, oh, that's cringe. And then they, like, blast it with lasers and stuff, you know? In the Kurzgesagt video, they said the reason why you don't see blue whales with cancer, even though their large body means they almost certainly have tumors all over their body, is because their cancer grows cancer on itself, you know? That they have a tumor, but then the tumor will grow its own tumor, which starts competing with the first tumor for resources. And it's possible that their entire bodies are just like a constant internal, like, cancer battle, you know? That's just a theory, though. Yeah, but it's a kind of a funny one, right? Yeah, that's the cancer circular firing squad. Very true. Very, very true. It is possible for cells to live basically forever, though, right? Like in theory. Why do our cells self-destruct anyway? We have biologically immortal cells. Yeah, we have some cells that can live forever potentially, right?